2001, ladies and gentlemen, 16-year-old Umar Khadar was taken from the streets of Afghanistan and shipped to Guantanamo Bay. 7 years later, he remains within Guantanamo Bay. No formal charges have been pressed against him, yet he faces interrogation under intensely stressful conditions. But most importantly, no trial, ladies and gentlemen, has been promised to this individual. The only thing he has been given a right to is a military tribunal. But the sad fact is that he is not the only one. More than 800 people from more than 30 countries currently reside within Guantanamo Bay, and the justification provided for the detention and not giving them a trial is that of the greater good, security. We as Team Prohibition say that the rights of these hundreds of people cannot be overridden in this way, and their detention without evidence and without the evidence being presented in court needs to be stopped, and they must be given a fair trial. And we say that the justification of doing this is in the aim of a means which simply does not materialize. Have a seat, man. And here we try to interpret the motion. Team Pakistan believes that in facilities where suspected terrorists are detained without the promise of a trial, which in simple words today means Guantanamo Bay, we believe that we should in fact not allow for this detention and only do so in the circumstances where there is a trial, where the evidence is presented in a court of law, and where these individuals are allowed to contest this evidence against them. If there were to be any other facility within the world today which did the same thing, which did not allow these individuals to have access to a trial and detain them in this way, we would also have a problem with that facility. But in today's context, ladies and gentlemen, that facility happens to be Guantanamo Bay, and we have an issue with the way they're doing things. Why? But why do we have an issue, ladies and gentlemen? Have a seat, ma'am. And this is Team Pakistan's stance. Firstly, we feel it violates the universal right to due process for all these individuals, and we feel that is something that is important to protect, regardless of the aim. But secondly, we feel that the creation of this legal loophole is in fact something which can be abused, and my second speaker, Asad, will come up and deal with this aspect and show to you how it can lead to things such as torture, and we'll also deal with the implications of in fact the legal loophole which is created without a free and fair trial. Right. During my speech, I'm going to basically talk to you about two things. Firstly, the importance of due process of law, which includes the right to in fact a trial, and why we believe in the principle of people being innocent till they are proven guilty, and why what is happening within Guantanamo Bay right now goes against that principle. And secondly, why there is no reason for us in fact to back down on this principle in the face of the supposed benefits, and why they simply are non-existent or in fact trivial. Right. So dealing first, ladies and gentlemen, with the due process of law. It's something that is in fact enshrined within the constitutions of nearly every democracy. The access, I've taken a minute, sir. The issue, ladies and gentlemen, of having access to greater justice. And we believe that the principle of being innocent before you're proven guilty is something which is very important, something I'll be establishing after I take this point. Yes, sir.
Where would you try these terrorists you're finding overseas?
All right, if they're terrorists and they want to harm your country, and you have evidence that they in fact are plotting terrorist activities, then these countries will try them in criminal court, something I'll be establishing when I move further on in my case. But obviously, if these people are in fact criminals and they will intend harm to your country, then you'll try them in your own courts. They won't wishing to harm you, ladies and gentlemen. So that question is quite well relevant. Right, what we need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that the reason we have these laws and the reason we have this principle is simple. At the end of the day, if you in fact are a criminal, and you're a suspected criminal, the only way you can be proven to be a criminal is this evidence is held to be true. If you have contested this evidence, if you've given, have a seat, ma'am, if you've given your side of the story, and at the end of the day, a court is able to decide whether or not you actually can be held guilty. And this is something we feel is lacking within the way things are done in Guantanamo. People are taken off on the pure suspicion, ladies and gentlemen, that they might be plotting attacks. They're never given a chance to even see the evidence that is held against them, and they're never even more importantly, given a chance to contest that evidence. And we say this is something which goes against the very fundamental rights. And this status, ladies and gentlemen, is something that is injustice. And we've seen, ladies and gentlemen, right now, very recently in the last few months, the Supreme Court realizing this injustice and enacting a law, ladies and gentlemen, which says that what is happening within Guantanamo Bay is in fact illegal, that these people have a right to a fair trial. Not a military tribunal, ladies and gentlemen, but a trial in which they can see the evidence, they can contest the evidence, and have, ladies and gentlemen, something charged against them in a proper court of law. And that is something that Team Prohibition also supports. And we see, therefore, that precedent also exists for what, in fact, we're trying to propose. And we say, what exactly is different about the suspected terrorists? What is different between them and criminals? Have a seat, ma'am. At the end of the day, if you have people like serial killers who are given these very rights, people who possess real and proper threats to your society but cannot be convicted because they have a right to, ladies and gentlemen, to contest any evidence against them. When you have people like rapists and any person who can in fact have any conceivable harm to your society being given these rights, then what is different about a suspected terrorist? People, ladies and gentlemen, who have not even in many cases have any history of harming your country, have any, ladies and gentlemen, proper bearing on, except apart from being the wrong place at the wrong time, any significant impact on in fact harming the security of your country. So for that reason, we say it is in fact very, very unfair for these people to be subject to a different form of law, simply because there is a potential harm that they might have to your country. And for that reason, we say this set of universal laws needs to be applied to this set of people. In fact, more so in this case, simply because the weak nature of the evidence against them. And that is something...
Given we're fighting a war and these people are enemy combatants, how can you liken them to a serial killer when they want to kill entire portions of our society?
There you go, man. What you need to understand is that are these people actually in a position where they're really killing or causing harm to the security of your country? What we need to understand is when they're caught in a situation of war, they're harming your, ladies and gentlemen, the soldiers on the ground. So that is something which is in a different scenario. What they actually want to test within places like Guantanamo Bay right now is plotting terrorist activities. And that is where the real issue comes in. If these people cannot be found to be guilty of plotting a terrorist act, which is not, ladies and gentlemen, in many cases something they can be found to be doing, we said that is not the right way of doing these things. And that is where we have a seek map. And that is where the second point comes in. What exactly is the benefit you're trying to seek when you put these people in jail? So the war they're trying to fight, what are the ends they're trying to achieve by putting in the principle in which they're going against the rights of these people? See, the benefits at the end of the day are in fact trivial. These people are in fact not being given a trial because there's on the issue of them being suspected terrorists. They interrogated, ladies and gentlemen, the hope of finding possible links to a terrorist plot. And what do we see? They're subject, ladies and gentlemen, to intense situations, intensely stressful situations and torture. Something Asif will, and the implications of which Asif will deal with. But what happens then, ladies and gentlemen? The information you gain, firstly, we need to have one example from Team Australia in which this information has helped in any way of ending or harming a terrorist plot. We see other means have been far more effective and are perhaps the only ways of actually ending terrorist plots, which include greater security checks, which include intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. We see this information also is in fact unreliable because it has been proven, ladies and gentlemen, that when people are under intense psychological pressure, under conditions of near torture, they cannot give you reliable information. So what exactly is the benefit you're gaining from following such a policy? We say if you are in a position where the only reason you want to do this is because you want to keep these people in a position where you can, in fact, subject them to this torture interrogation, we say that is unjustified. When you do not give these people the rights that you give to every single citizen within your country, then we say this is also unfair. So we're standing for the principle, ladies and gentlemen, we say that what you need to do is firstly compile a set of evidence. If that evidence exists, then yes, these people will be convicted. If they are real threats to your country, they will end up in jail, ladies and gentlemen. And that is something the Team Australia needs to realize. At the end of the day, if these people are real terrorists, they will be in jail. But if there is no evidence backing this up, if it is purely suspicion, then we cannot back the right of them being guilty before they even have a chance to say that they're innocent. And that is the chance that we want to give them. If these people can prove they're innocent, they should be let go, ladies and gentlemen, not be held indefinitely for 7 years without any promise of trial. And for that reason, we stand for this principle, and we say we should seize the detention of all these terrorists in jail. Thank you.
Speaker spoke for 8 minutes, 9